Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Scrutinizing Sundays. It's been a minute since I've done one of these things. I believe I went the entire month of January and February without posting anything live. One of the things that had happened was I shut down my StreamYard account because it was something that I wasn't really utilizing. I didn't really need it to do what I was doing. I switched over to pre-recorded when I was doing the Frame It Fridays. And then just like that, I basically started getting a whole bunch of work in, a whole bunch of drafting work, which is a great thing because that means I don't end up homeless. But at the same time, I now had to juggle all the real work, the production. And one of the great things about the live streaming was the fact that when you are recording it, you are also posting it. There is no production. Well, there's pre-production, but there's no post-production. There's no editing. The product that you produce is already out there. A wise man once told me that for every layer of complexity you add, you double your chances of not doing it. And so here I am now with a slightly more complicated production setup, and I'm less likely to do it. But here I am. I'm going to produce these things for you guys. I'm going to get back to sharing the things I'm learning, and hopefully we all have a much better experience doing it. And I have learned a whole bunch of stuff, so let's just get straight into it here. What has been going on with Rapid Designs here? You can see that we have a few more models up on the wall. That is just a sign that I am still drawing houses. I'm still here doing this stuff. I'm still on the fence thinking about how I'm doing the Frame It Fridays, how those are being produced, having to go print out plans and pick them up from a print shop every week. Is that worth it? All these things. I don't have a big printer in-house. I could do these things in the computer. That said, for now, I'm just starting with getting back into the Scrutinizing Sundays so that I can share and learn and repeat back to myself the things that I've learned so that I can learn them better, hopefully. So we're going to get right into it. One of the first things I want to talk about was the one thing versus leverage. When I started learning about construction, I was very interested in the building science and people learning how to build really cool, fancy, nice houses. I became very passionate about the building world, about custom homes, about people living in special homes that are designed for specific purposes. And when my first business in construction failed, a lot of what I was trying to do with that first business was be a contractor or a master builder or whatever you want to call it. And I was getting my hands dirty and I was accomplishing all these trades myself. And that's very difficult to scale. In fact, it could have been scaled, but not with the mindset that I had at the time. And so that's part of the reason the business failed. But anyways, when that failed and I started climbing towers with my brother, I thought about everything I wanted to accomplish, and I sat down and read this book, The One Thing, and it reminded me that I really am passionate about the construction industry. I do love it. I love the blue collar nature to it. I love when people get to have a custom house built. It's just one of the most expensive things anyone's ever going to buy, and so it's very special to a lot of people. And it took a long time for me to let go of the reality that I needed to do the things that I would be best at. And swinging a hammer was something that I learned. It was something that I spent some time as a framing and siding tradesman. I worked for a contractor. I was just a guy doing labor. And it took doing that to learn that this is not this is not my highest leverage vehicle. I went to college, and it's not that you can't go to college and go swing a hammer. You totally can. But I had learned a bunch of other skills that gave me access to tools, information, and systems and all this stuff that I could be using to make money as well. And that came up as soon as I started framing, because one of the first times that I was talking to the contractor about a project coming up, he mentioned something and I said, well, do they have a draftsman? Because I can draw plans. And he's like, oh, no, they don't. So I drew a few things up there in Washington, and it just became clear to me again that the time trade-off, the skills that I had, the access to the software that I had, I was able to produce so much more economic value in a certain particular way because of the combinations of what I knew that I had to learn to let the blue collar side go and do the thing that I would have better leverage with. And it took a lot of time to fully accept that and to really let go of the tools, let go of a lot of the mindset, not the mindset, but to fully embrace the fact that the more things you say no to, the better you're going to be at doing the one thing that's left over. And I've touched on that many times when I've done these Scrutinizing Sundays, and it just continues to be true. And I just keep seeing how capable I am of doing so many things. The more things, or the less things I commit myself to, the better I'm going to be at all of the other things. So here we are. I'm in my Rapid Designs studio office. This is the bedroom of my apartment. And I've got my work computer right there where I've draft, and I've got 3D printer over there in the corner. And the rest of this is dedicated to studio so that I can help grow my network, help people. As you can see, there are other chairs here. I have this guest with me today, Mr. Pumpkin. You may or may not know him. He's a sweetheart, and he's standing in today. So, this is where I'm at. I've realized that I can pull a certain amount of economic energy and solve a certain number of problems for people with the skills that I have. And so now it's just, as Hormozi would say, it's just more and better. So that is what I am here to do. And that was what the whole one thing versus leverage was for me, was really thinking about how do I maximize leverage on the one thing that I had. And I had a conversation with a builder the other day about, I'm a draftsman, so I draw houses. He's a builder and he builds houses. And I don't remember how this came up, but at some point I was like, hey, which one of us causes more homes to be built? And the simple way of framing that is, well, I draw more houses than he can build. And the obvious reason for that is because it takes a huge amount of time and energy to create a home build. Like, even if you're just organizing your tradesmen, I'm going to talk about that because that's a whole other animal. We're basically done building 2 spec homes in Bryan, Texas here. And I went along for the journey. I volunteered to be a project manager for the investor on this project and build these 2 houses. And boy, did I learn a lot about how much time and effort it can take to make a building process go well. And even when you're doing that, how things go wrong and how money is lost, time is lost, all of those things. And I just realized I don't know hardly anything about how to do this correctly. And so one of the topics I'm going to talk about today is that I will probably never build anything again. And that's totally okay, because what I will do is I am going to give people a particular process and construction document that's going to allow them to go build. And so at the end of this conversation, we basically figured out that, well, I can draw more plans than you build houses. And it wasn't like a competition or anything, but it was like I can affect more people getting into custom homes by drawing. And so I had to let the building part of me go. And, that's totally cool. I'm also here. The other thing that I was really in love with was the whole bungalows for bachelors idea. When I started that, I was searching for that one thing. I realized I love construction. I love teaching people about it. I loved helping people get better. I love projects being accomplished. And it took me learning a lot from Hormozi to realize that building a service business is extremely different from building an education business. And you probably should not build an education business if you have not really performed the thing you're going to educate on. He said the goal is not to learn how to make $1 and then teach other people how to make $1. The goal should be to succeed a lot in the thing you're going to do. And then, like, when you're 60 or 70 and you want to teach or whatever, great, do that, because you'll be an expert at that point. But our internet nowadays is saturated with people that want to teach about things that they don't know. And so I'm trying to avoid that. I didn't want to build that kind of business because I really realized that I really didn't know a lot. Don't get me wrong. There's a place for the explorer archetype where you're leading a group of people and you acknowledge that you don't know a lot, but you're going to go through the experience, you're going to learn the lessons, and you're going to pass that information down. Different kind of education, and that's totally fine. But again, that really wasn't what I was after. So here we are. I'm going to build this drafting business. Over the past 2 months, I have experienced a very wide variety of clients. I have worked with multiple people. I have done, honestly, less sales than I have in the previous 6 months because I was spending so much time selling, and now I'm just spending a bunch of time drawing, which is great for like the business. And I'm figuring out pricing, and I'm figuring out time investment and which people do I want to work for, which people do I not want to work for. And all those things are great because you part ways with people that you don't work well with, and you can each go and succeed in your own ways. And that's an awesome thing. Let's get into some of the other lessons here. I want to talk a little bit about the last edit that I produced and put on my channel. It was I basically took the framework of a recent Hormozi video, and I was trying to see, well, okay, if I expend all this energy, I think I edited that video for like 11 hours, which doesn't sound, it could be nothing for a real video. It's not a lot, but for me, it was a lot. And I spent a bunch of time tweaking this, and I produced this thing, and it was only like 2.5 minutes long. And I spent 11 hours editing this thing. It's because I wanted it to be super packed with information. And I released it. It was like hey, frame your house in 7 minutes. What happened was I got a little bit more views on it. And it was cool. And I'm not necessarily going for view count or anything. What I want is the people that come to my channel to know they're going to get something that's going to help them solve a particular problem based on all my other content that I've produced. So long story short, put in a ton of effort, didn't get a huge return, and I wasn't really expecting a huge return, but I had to really think about what I was doing. At the same time, all of my drafting work took off. Producing just went on pause for a little bit. So now we're back. I would like to use this where I have 2 guests on at a time. I have the equipment for it, and I've got the chairs. Obviously, Mr. Pumpkin would need to sit in a different chair, or he'd have to sit in my lap if I had 2 people in here. But I'm going to start using this as a networking tool. I'm going to use it as a social tool, and I'm going to just see what kind of fun things I can produce out of here and make some things happen. So I can't promise I know what's going to come out of these videos or what's going to end up on my YouTube channel, but I'm going to just use it for all of the best ways that I can to produce value for people. So that's what I'm doing here. Now, one of the cool things that happened when I got to College Station the first time I moved here was I was super open to just getting work, doing anything with anyone. I was open to networking. I was open to whatever. One of the builders that I called was telling me, well, I don't need a draftsman, but my current draftsman that I use might be looking for help. Let me connect you with her. And I was connected with this wonderful lady, and she gave me the opportunity to draw on her behalf because she had a different set of skills. And sitting at a computer and moving around lines was not the thing that she loved the most. And so I was able to fill that gap because I love sitting at a computer and drawing lines. I'm very fast. And so it fits in perfectly. So I was able to help her solve that problem. Well, it became clear that the more business I was able to get on my side, the less availability I had to help her solve her problem. And so we had to say, okay, this is no longer a good fit. Parted ways for a period of time, very amicably, still great friends. And then, a year later, I had a particular project come to me, and they were looking for somebody with a particular set of skills that I knew at this point that I didn't have. One of the things I like to say about when I'm on a sales call or when someone's talking to me, what are we going to get with you when we're drafting with you? I love to tell people, if you know about what you want, come to me and I'll draft your plans. You're going to get crazy value. We're going to do all these great things. If you don't know what you want, I'm not your person. Now, I do know this other person who can help you solve your problem. And we work together all the time. We're very close. So it's going to be great. You're going to have a great solution. It's going to be great. But it became clear to me that there were strengths I did not have as a draftsman designer in this industry. And the more customers and jobs that I get, the more I see where I'm fitting in. I'm like, okay, this job was really perfect. This kind of builder, this kind of customer, we just fit really well together. And it was just boom, 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 projects done, projects designed. It was super great. And there are other projects where people show up and they don't necessarily know what they want. And there's a whole set of skills and questions that are built into that world of how do you fit someone's floor plan into their lifestyle. And I just realized there's this whole other side to this thing that I had not learned. And while I did recently read that feng shui book and I understand proper bed placement and chair placement, furniture placement, I understand more about that now. That fills that area in better. It does not give me all those tools and experiences to know how to lay out an entire house for somebody optimally. And so one of the things that has happened now that I'd like to update you guys with is I am with that original draftsman architectural designer lady that I was working for before. We now work together, and we work together still as separate entities. But the beautiful thing is that she has this amazing set of skills that she loves to use to help people with the lifestyle and the layout, the interior design, all those great things that are important. And I have a set of skills that's, hey, let's get these plans on paper. Let's get this thing drafted out. Let's come into the model in my computer and see what this thing is going to look like. And we combine the business structures that we both have to solve different problems. And we're able to give people that work with both of us an amazing product. And that's really cool because at the end of the day, my business grows and her business grows. Because because we're separate businesses. So we're both acquiring leads on our own. And so when we acquire the lead that's like, oh, this is definitely going to be like a combined project. And basically the way it works is if it comes to me and it's that thing, I just send it to her. And then if she likes it, then we work together. And the same thing other way around. If she gets things that are like, oh, this is mostly this, the work's going to end up funneling down to me. And it's this beautiful system of this is why you network. This is why you always solve problems for people. You maintain positive relationships. You build bridges, and you just maintain doing that, because you never know when someone a year later is going to come back and be like, hey, you know what? I was doing this thing. I want to do something different because this is just not what I love. And you can help me solve that problem. So it's a beautiful thing. So that's something else that I got going on. In addition to acquiring my customers, I'm also helping on that end. And that is just, that's filling up my weekly hourglass, right? So when I was selling beforehand, I might've been only drafting plans for 5 to 10 hours a week. All of the other time was spent to acquire customers, which is great for growing fast. But the funny thing is now I'm at the point where, okay, I've got 30-ish hours I'm drafting a week. And then I have the regular business functions I have to fill in to get me up to the 40. And then, life and all these other things. I got this cute little kitty cat I need to play with, and personal life and all that. So I talked before about Hormozy and the grind and the lonely chapter and all this stuff about working these 16-hour days. And it's really interesting because when somebody commits to doing that, that's how you pop out. That's how you get out of that, this section. So let's talk about the section that I'm not stuck in, but the section that I've now created for myself, which is, it's sort of going to be self-fulfilling. It's going to be self-critiquing, self-solving. But here's the situation. I draw a really good product. I'm really great to work with, easy to communicate with. All of these things that make me a draftsman that a builder is going to want to work with in the future. And that's one of the specific things I'm aiming for, is to work with builders because of a whole bunch of different reasons. But that is my main customer. So if I can get a builder's attention by making them one of these free models of one of their houses, they're like, oh, who's this guy? He makes these cool things. Cool. Most people, they'll get one and it's free in the mail, and they're like, okay, cool, thanks, bro. And they're out, and that's fine. But there are a few that hit me up months later, and they're like, hey, I've got a house I need drafted. What's your pricing? Can we work together? Can you help me solve my problem? And that's my opportunity to get in there and solve that problem. And what's been happening is, as soon as I do that, they're like, oh my gosh, where have you been? I'm like, let's get more stuff drawn. I've got these other projects I want to do. Let's get this done. Let's get this going. I had somebody hit me up here, and now you become a piece of their puzzle that solves their problem. And one of the things I realized about the nature of the business I was growing was, in terms of acquisition, I wasn't necessarily acquiring one-off customers, because when somebody, if you're going to build a custom home, you're probably not going to build another custom home for 3 years at least, right? The whole point is to customize it to your lifestyle and to live in it. And one of the funny things, is a little bit cynical in my perspective, but I think it's funny. Everybody thinks that this custom home is the last custom home, and it never is, barring circumstances where they just die. But it's just a funny thought. Anyway, so one of the things that was happening was, instead of person needs plans and they want to get a custom home built, they call me up and say, hey, can you get me plans? I'm going out and I'm finding builders. And normally, in a lot of cases, to draw the type of work that I do, it's usually for people that kind of know what they want, and they've already kind of got a builder. They just need some plans, and then they can go and build the house. And so it turned out what I was doing was I was actually acquiring lead acquirers. So when I get a builder on my side and I impress them and I make their life easier, because one of the weird things about this nature is this is B2B2C. And so I'm selling to builders, but at the same time, it's the customers of the builders that are really buying my product. Sometimes the money flows to the builder, sometimes it doesn't. But either way, the leads are flowing to the builder, and the builder has me on his team. And so as long as I can sell to the builder and make sure his life is easier, and the customer's life is easier by proxy, because the builder is building the house for the customer. But I don't have to sell very many builders in order to have a wide enough lead flow for people to draw plans with me. And I got to the point where I haven't even called outside of Texas. And I'm sitting here laughing at myself, because I remember the first time I did my cold calls through the 1,200 leads or whatever that were in Texas off of all the Builders Association's list. I thought to myself, man, I'm going to burn through these. And then I'm just going to have to go outside of Texas. There's no way. What am I going to do? I have not gotten to the end of the list. I still have 500 plus qualified builders in that list that I haven't done my cold call process with to get them the free model, right? There's still a bunch more in there. And I'm at the point now where I know if I start calling more, I'm going to get more work because I have this process pretty well figured out. And every time I draw a plan for somebody, or every time I get another review, every time I get another whatever, I'm just building up all the proof. So the proof goes on the website, the proof goes on the Instagram, the proof goes in my projects lists. When I'm on a sales call with somebody, I'm showing them in my computer, I'm showing them all my projects, I'm showing them my drawings, I'm showing them what I've given people. Just try to be fully clear with what I do. And so it's just like it's compounding on itself. And in addition to that, when a builder comes to me and he's got a lead flow that's flowing to me, if I draw good plans and do a good thing for the builder and the customer, now the builder and the customer want me to do more. And so the customer is going to refer me to friends who may be working with other builders, and the builder might know other builders. Usually the builders are not incentivized to share my name with other builders, but it has happened a few times. But the referrals are now growing. And like referral growth is exponential because as soon as like one person tells two people and then two people can tell two people and then now you got four people and it just blows up. So I've got that growing and I still haven't blown up the list in the computer. And so there's a part of me that's like scared that, man, if I call all those people in that list and I tell them about what I'm doing and they like find out that I run this business that's like giving people really like plans within a few days and they're great, clean plans. And the communication's really crisp and clear, concise. And like that's one of the compliments I consistently get is that like, man, you're just super easy to get a hold of. You're just super easy to work with. And part of that is because I make myself available. My computer's always with me. My phone's always on my desk. And if someone calls, I pick up unless I'm in a meeting. So we're going to very quickly get to the point where we have this whole other set of challenges to solve as a business, which is really, really exciting. Because the first problem that we were trying to solve here, and you guys are coming along for the journey, was that I had no work and no one knew that I existed. So now we have this other wonderful set of problems, which is I have work now, and that work's going to slowly start building up to a point where my regular capacity can't hold it. And the beautiful thing about the pricing mechanism that I have is when that happens for 1 or 2 or 3 months, I have a large pool of money that I can then use to make myself more money. And it's not that I want to make myself more, I do want to make more money, but what I can really do is I can start leveraging the money that I'm making to solve and put band-aids on the process that I'm building. And what does that mean? That means I'm buying employees, I'm buying time, I'm buying people to help me, I'm buying experience and skills and teamwork and like all of that, like great atmosphere, right? So right now Rapid Designs is full-time, just me. But if you've checked our website, you might see that there's another fantastical person on there named Daniel who in his free time has helped me with a few things. So as I continue to grow the team of people that are part of this mission here to solve this like, man, drafting just takes so long problem in this building industry. I had a guy on the phone with the other day, and he was like, yeah, man, I can't, like I'm trying to get plans from people and everybody's like 3 weeks out. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll give it to you in a few days. And he was like, oh, okay, great. Kind of funny story that he was like, okay, well, how much does it cost? And I was like, well, it's this much. He's like, oh, well, that's more expensive. And I said, yes. And you get it in a few days instead of 3 weeks. So anyway, that happens. But that's where we're at. And that's the beautiful mission we're on. And in addition to that, the money allows for getting people on the team. It allows for getting technology to solve problems and all these wonderful things. And so here we are. That's what we're going to keep doing. And so stay up to date for results. What else do I got going on here? Oh, there was this one builder and I was talking to him, and the first time he worked with me, the feedback that I got from him when I was done was such that he said, I have opened up a whole new client set because of what you're able to do. And it's a combination of my confidence, the experience in construction, understanding how things are built. And a customer says like, well, I want this design. Can we do this? Can we move these things around? And the builder just kind of comes along for the ride in the meeting. And then occasionally we have a question or two for him on like, hey, how do you normally build this? Because people have different preferences all the time. So what I was able to do for this builder was stand in as an expert that he can direct these types of customers to, who mostly know what they want already. They just need it drafted and tweaked in a certain way. And, we may end up like reorganizing a whole bunch of rooms, but the main building idea stays the same, and that's totally fine. But there's a whole group of people that don't want to pay the $20,000 or plus whatever that it costs to get an architect to come in and just fully dig in and give you this beautiful home design that's going to be perfect for you and on this detailed set of plans. It's going to be great, all those wonderful things. But that's a different market. And so what he was telling me was that working with me and doing this thing was like a very great price for what he was able to accomplish out of it. And he wants to do more. And so that's pretty cool was the confidence boost in knowing that I can solve that problem in a very particular way. And that happened to be one of the jobs that I enjoyed the most, that flowed the easiest. And so when I get work like that, little green flag goes up in my head and it says, okay, when the time comes for you to say, you know what, I'm gonna bump my prices up a little bit. I'm gonna target this really specific kind of work, and I'm going to say no to everything else. That's when you can really drill down and focus. And so I'm still figuring that out. The money is flowing and stuff like that. So we're not going to cut off the money flow just yet, but that's where we're at with that. And some last few items here that I want to add is extra little points of value when you're running a business. Access to executives or access to top level people. It's usually, if you try calling any business, it's very difficult to get a hold of the higher ups. And if you would like to present that kind of value to a customer or potential customer that, hey, when you call us, you're going to get a hold of somebody who can give you a decision. That's valuable. So take that with a grain of salt and use that in your own businesses if you have those. And that said, that's most of what I've got. That's the update that's been going on. We've been drawing plans. We've been doing things like crazy. And we're just going to see what happens. We're going to grow this thing and we're going to solve these problems. And if you want to stay up to date, come along for the ride. I will try to produce more of this stuff. I've got some great interviews in mind and some things in the works for what's going to pop up on here, other people that are going to be sitting in these chairs. And I will see you guys later. Thank you for watching.